Berkshire Hathaway Incorporated. To the shareholders of Berkshire Hathaway Incorporated, the per share book value of both Class A and Class B stock increased by 4.6% in 2011 over the last 47 years. That is, since present management took over, book value has grown from $19 to $99,860, a rate of 19.8% compounded annually. All per share figures used in this report apply to Berkshire's A shares figure of the B shares of 1 to 150th of those shown for A. Charlie Munger, Berkshire Vice Chairman, my partner, and I feel good about the company's progress during 2011. Here's the highlights. The primary job of a board of directors is to see that the right people are running the business and to be sure that the next generation of leaders is identified and ready to take over tomorrow. I've been on top 19 corporate boards, and the Berkshire directors at the top of the list. In the time and the legislative they have devoted to succession planning. What's more, their efforts have paid off. As 2011 started, Todd Combs joined as an investment manager shortly after a year, and Ted Weschler came aboard. Both of these men have outstanding investment skills and a deep commitment to Berkshire. Each will be handling a few $1 billion in 2012, but they have the brilliance, judgment, and character to manage our entire portfolio, and Charlie and I are no longer running Berkshire. Your board is equally enthusiastic about my successor as CEO, an individual to whom they have had a great deal of exposure and who has been Gerald Newman colleagues they admire. We have two superb backup candidates as well. When transfer responsibilities are required, it will be seamless and Berkshire's possible to remain bright. More than 98% of my net worth is in Berkshire stock, all of which will go to various philanthropies. Being so heavily concentrated in one stock device conventional wisdom. But I'm fine with this arrangement, knowing both the quality and the diversity of business we own and the caliber of the people who manage them with their assets. My successor will enjoy a running start. Do not, however, infer from this discussion that Charlie and I are going anywhere. We continue to be in excellent health. We love what we do. On September 16th, we acquired Lubrizol, a worldwide producer of additives and other specialty chemicals. The company has had outstanding records since James Hambrick became CEO in 2004, with pre-tax profits increasing from $147 million to $1,085 million. Lubrizol will have many opportunities for bolt-on acquisition in the specialty chemical field. Indeed, we already agreed to three costing $493 million. James is a disciplined buyer and superb operator. Charlie and I are eager to expand his managerial domain. Our major business did well last year. In fact, each of our 5 largest non-insurance companies, BNSF, Iscar, Lubrizol, Marmon Group, and Mid-American Energy, delivered record operating earnings. In aggregate, these businesses have earned more than $9 billion pre-tax in 2011, contrasted that 7 years ago when we owned only 1/5 of Mid-American, whose pre-tax earnings were $393 million. Unless the economy weakens in 2012, each of our fabulous 5 should again set a record with aggregate earnings comfortably topping $10 billion. In total, our entire string of operating companies spent $8.2 billion for property, plant, and equipment in 2011, smashing our previous record by more than $2 billion. About 95% of these outlays were made in the U.S., a fact that may surprise those who believe our country lack investment opportunities. Welcome projects abroad, but expect the overwhelming majority of Berkshire's future capital commitments to be in America. In 2012, these expenditures will again set a record. Our insurance operations continue the delivery of costless capital that funds a myriad of other opportunities. This business produces float. Money doesn't belong to us, but that we give and invest for Berkshire's benefit. And if we pay out less in losses and expenses than we receive in premiums, we additionally earn an underwriting profit, meaning the float costs us less than nothing. Though we are sure to have underwriting losses from time to time, we've now have 9 consecutive years of underwriting profits totaling about $17 billion. Over the same 9 years, our float increased from $41 billion to its current record of $70 billion. Insurance has been good to us. Finally, we made 2 major investments in our marketable securities. One, a $5 billion, 6% preferred stock of Bank of America that came with warrants allowing us to buy 700 million common shares at 7.14% per share at any time before September 2, 2021. And 2, $63.9 million shares of IBM that causes $10.9 billion. Counting IBM, we now have large ownership interest in 4 exceptional companies: 13% of American Express, 8.8% of Coca-Cola, 5.5% of IBM, and 7.6% of Wells Fargo. We also, of course, have many smaller but important positions. We view these holdings partnership interests in wonderful business now as marketable securities to be bought or sold based on their near-term prospects. Our share of their earnings, however, are far from fully reflected in our earnings. Only the dividends we receive from these businesses show up in our financial reports over time. Though the undistributed earnings of these companies that are attributable for ownership are reviewed is important to us. That's because they will be used in a variety of 2 ways to increase for future earnings and dividends of the investee. They also will be devoted to stock repurchases, which will increase our share of companies' future earnings. Had we owned our present positions throughout the last year, our dividends from the Big Four would have been $862 million. That's all that would have been reported in Berkshire income statement. Our share of this quarter earnings, however, would have been far greater, $3.3 billion. Charlie and I believe that $2.4 billion that goes unreported in our books creates at least an amount of value for Berkshire as it fuels earnings gains in the future years. We expect the combined earnings of Ford and their dividends as well as the increase in 2012, and for that matter, almost every year for a long time to come. A decade from now, our current holdings of the four companies might as well account for earnings of $7 billion, which $2 billion in dividends would come to us. I ran out of the good news. Here are some developments that hurt us during 2011. A years back, I spent about $2 billion buying several bond issues of energy future holdings and electric utility operations serving position of Texas. That was my mistake, a big mistake. In large measure, the company's prospects were tied to the price of natural gas, which tanked shortly after a purchase and remained depressed. Though we have annually received interest payments of about $102 million since our purchase, the company's liability to pay will soon be exhausted unless gas prices rise substantially. We wrote down our investment by $1 billion in 2010 and by additional $390 million last year. At year-end, we carried the bonds at their market value of $878 million. If gas prices remain present levels, we will likely face a further loss, perhaps in an amount that will virtually wipe out our current carrying value. Conversely, substantial increase in gas prices might allow us to recoup some or even fall of our rate down. However things turn out, I totally miscalculated the gain-loss probabilities when I purchased the bonds in tennis parlance. This was a major enforced error by your chairman. Such a large and very attractive investment were called away from us by their issuers in 2011. Swiss Re, Goldman Sachs, and General Electric paid us an aggregate of $12.8 billion to redeem securities that were producing about $1.2 billion of pre-tax earnings for Berkshire. There's a lot of income to replace, so our Brazil purchase did offset most of it. Last year, I told you that housing recovery would probably begin within a year or so. I was that wrong. We have five businesses whose results are significantly influenced by housing activity. The connection is direct at Clayton House Homes, which is the largest producer of homes in the country, accounting for about 70% of those constructed during 2011. Additionally, Acme Brick, Shaw Carpet, John Mansell Installation, and MeTech Building products primarily connector plates used in roofing are all materially affected by the construction of the aggregate. Our five housing-related companies had pre-tax profits of $513 million in 2011. That's similar to 2010, but down from $1.8 billion in 2006. Housing will come back. You can be sure of that. Over time, the number of housing units necessarily matches the number of households after allowing a normal level of vacancies for a period of years prior to 2008. However, America added more housing units then household inevitably ended up with far too many units, and the bubble erupted with violence that shook the entire economy. That created still another platform for housing. Early introduction household formation slow in 2009, the decrease was dramatic. That devastating supply-demand equation is now reversed. Every day we are creating more households and housing units. People may postpone hitching up during uncertain times, but eventually hormones take over, and while doubling up may be the initial reaction of some during a recession, living within loss can quickly lose its allure. At our current annual pace of 600,000 housing starts, considerably less than the number of new households being formed. Buyers and renters have stopped topping up what's left of the old oversupply. This process will run its course at different rates around the country. The supply-demand situation varies widely by locale. While this heading takes place, however, our housing-related companies are employing only 43,315 people compared to 58,769 in 2006. This hugely important sector of the economy, which includes not only construction but everything that feeds off it, remains in a depression of its own. I believe this is a major reason recovery's employment has so severely lagged the study of substantial comeback we have seen on almost all other sectors of the economy. Wise monetary and fiscal policies play an important role in tempering recessions, but these tools don't create households or eliminate excess housing units. Fortunately, demographics in our market system will restore the need balance. Probably before long, when that day comes, we will again build 1 million or more residential units annually. I believe pundits will be surprised at how far employment drops. Once that happens, they will generate a wake. That has been true since 1776. The America's best days lie ahead. Intrinsic business value. Charlie and I measure our performance by the rate of gain in Berkshire's per share intrinsic business value. For a gain over time outstrips the performance of the S&P 500. We have earned our paychecks. If it doesn't, we are overpaid at any price. We have no way to pinpoint intrinsic value, but we do have a useful, though considerably understated proxy for it. Per share book value. This yardstick is meaningless at most companies at Berkshire. However, book value very, very roughly tracks business values. That's because the amount of Berkshire intrinsic value exceeds book value does not swing. Only from year to year, though increase in most years, over time the divergence will likely become ever more substantial in absolute terms, remaining reasonably steady, however, in percentage basis, as both the numerator and denominator of the business book value equation increase. We've regularly emphasized that our book value and performance is almost certain, outpace the S&P 500 in a bad year for the stock market, and just certainly will fall short in a strong up year. The trust is how we do every time. Last year's annual report included table laying out results for the 4 to 5 year period since we took over Berkshire in 1965, i.e. 1965, 69, 1960, 1970. ROE, etc. All showed our book value beating the S&P and our string held for 2007 to 11. It will almost certainly snap though if the S&P 500 should put together a 5-year winning streak, which it will be on its way to doing as I rate this. I also included 2 tables last year that set forth the key quantitative increases that will help you estimate our per share intrinsic value. I won't repeat the full discussion here, and you can find it reproduced on pages 99 to 100. To update the table shown there, our per share investment 2011 increased 4% to $98,366, and our pre-tax earnings from business other than insurance and investment increased 18% to $6,990 per share. Charlie and I like to see gains in both areas, but our primary focus is on building operating earnings. Over time, the business we currently own should increase their aggregate earnings, and we hope also to purchase some large operations that will give us a further boost. We now have 8 subsidiaries that would each be included in the Fortune 500, worthy standalone companies. That leaves only 492 to go. My task is clear, and I'm on the prowl. Share repurchases. Last September, we announced that Berkshire would repurchase its shares at a price of up to 110% of book value. We're in the market for only a few days, buying $67 million of stock before the price advanced beyond our limit. Nonetheless, the general import of share repurchases suggests I should focus for a bit on the subject. Charlie and I favor a repurchase when 2 conditions are met. First, the company has ample funds to take care of the operation and liquidity needs of its business. Second, its stock is selling in material discount to the company's intrinsic business value conservatively calculated. We have witnessed many bouts of repurchasing that failed our second test. Sometimes, of course, infractions, even serious ones, are innocent. Many CEOs never stop believing their stock is cheap. In other instances, a less benign conclusion seems warranted. It doesn't suffice to say that repurchases are being made to offset the dilution from stock issuances or simply because the company has excess cash. Continuing shareholders are hurt unless their shares are purchased below intrinsic value. The first law of capital allocation, whether the money is slated for acquisitions or share repurchases that when it's smart at one price is dumb at another. One CEO who always stresses the price value factor in repurchase decisions is Jamie Dimon at JP Morgan. I recommend that you read this annual letter. Charlie and I have mixed emotions when Berkshire shares sells well below intrinsic value. We like making money for continuing shareholders, and there is no sure way to do that when buying an asset, our own stock, that we know to be worth at least X for less than that for 0.9x, 8x, or even lower. As one of our directors say, it's like shooting fish in a barrel after the barrel has been drained and the fish have quit flopping. Nevertheless, we don't enjoy cashing out partners at discount, even though our doing so may give the selling shareholders a slightly higher price than they would receive if our bid was absent. When we are buying, therefore, we want those exiting partners to be fully informed about the value of the assets they are selling. At our limit price of 110% of book value, purchase clearly increase Berkshire's per share intrinsic value, and the more and the cheaper we buy, the greater the gain for the continuing shareholders. Therefore, if given the opportunity, we will likely purchase stock aggressively at our price limit or lower. You should know, however, that we have no interest in supporting the stock and that our bids will fade in particularly weak markets, nor will we buy shares of our cash equivalent holding are below $20 billion at Berkshire financial strength. This questionable takes precedence over else. This discussion of repurchase offers me the chance to address the irrational reaction of many investors to change in stock prices when Berkshire buys stocks in a company that is purchasing shares. We have for 2 events. First, we have a normal hope that earnings of the business will increase at a good clip for a long time to come. And second, we also hope that stock can perform in the market for a long time as well. A corollary to the second point, talking our book about stock we own, we were that to be effective would actually be harmful to Berkshire, not helpful, as commentators customarily assume. Let's use IBM as an example. As business observers know, CEOs Luke Jernstar and Sam Palmisano did a superb job in moving IBM from near bankruptcy 20 years ago to its prominence today. Their operational accomplishments were truly extraordinary. But their financial management was equally brilliant, particularly in the next years, as the company's financial flexibility improved. Indeed, I can think of no major company that has had better financial management, a skill that has materially increased the gains enjoyed by IBM shareholders. The company has used that wisely and made value-adding acquisitions almost exclusively for cash and aggressively repurchased its own stock. Today, IBM has 1.16 billion shares outstanding, of which we own about $63.9 million of 5.5%. Actually, what happens to the company's earnings over the next 5 years is enormous importance to us. Beyond that, the company will likely spend $50 billion or so in those years to repurchase shares. Our question for today: what should the long-term Berkshire shareholders should Berkshire share for during that period? I will keep you in suspense. We should wish for IBM stock price to languish throughout the 5 years. Let's do the math. If IBM stock price average says $200 during the period, the company will require 250 million shares for its $50 billion. There would be no consequently be 910 million shares outstanding, and we would own about 7% of the company. If the stock conversely sells for an average of $300 during the 5-year period, IBM will require only 167 million shares. That would leave about 990 million shares outstanding after 5 years, which we would own 6.5%. If IBM were to earn, say, $20 billion in the fifth year, our share of those earnings would be a full $100 million greater than their disappointing scenario of a lower stock price than they would have been at a higher price. At some later point, our shares would be worth perhaps $1.5 billion for more than if a high price or purchase scenario had taken place. The logic is simple. If you're going to be a net buyer of stocks in the future, either directly with your own money or indirectly through your own partnership with a company that is purchasing shares, you're hurt when stocks rise, you benefit when stocks swoon. Emotions, however, too often complicate the matter. Most people, including those who will be net buyers in the future, take comfort in seeing stock prices advance. These shareholders resemble a commuter who just after the price of gas increases simply because his tank contains a day's supply. Charlie and I don't expect a win to win many of you over to our way of thinking. We've observed enough human behavior to know if you believe that. But we do want you to be aware of our personal calculus, and here's the confessions in order. In my early days, I actually rejoiced when the market rose. Then I read Chapter 8 of Brian Graham's An Intelligent Investor, the chapter dealing with how investors should view fluctuations in the stock market. Stock prices immediately scaled, fall from my eyes, and low prices became my friend. Picking up that book was one of the luckiest moments in my life. In the end, the success of our IBM investment will be determined primarily by its future earnings, but important secondary factor by how many shares the company purchases with substantial sums it is likely to devote to this activity. And if Repurchase ever reduce the IBM shares outstanding to $63.9 million, I will abandon my fame for reality and give Berkshire employees a paid holiday. Now let's examine the four major sectors of our operations. Each has a vastly different balance sheet and income characteristics from others. Lumping them together for report and Pete's analysis, so we'll present them as four separate businesses, which is how Charlie and I view them, because we may be purchasing Berkshire shares from some of you. We'll offer a thoughts in a section as to how intrinsic value compares to carrying value. Insurance. Let's look at first insurance, Berkshire core operation engine that has propelled our expansion over the years. Property casualty. PC insurers receiving premiums up front and pay claims later in extreme cases, such as those arising from certain workers. Compensation accident payment can stretch over the cases collect now, pay later model. Leave us holding the large sums money we can float. That will eventually go to the others. Meanwhile, get to the investors. This float for Berkshire benefit, though the individual policy and claims come and go. The amount of float we hold remains remarkably stable in relation to premium volume. Consequently, as our business grows, so does our float, and how we have grown as the following table shows. Year 1970, 1980, 1990, 2000, 2010, 2011. Float in $1 million, $39, $237, 1,638, 27,871, 65,832, 70,571. It isn't likely that our float will grow much, if at all, from its current level. That's mainly because we already have an outsized amount relative to premium volume. Were there to be a decline in float, I will add it would almost certainly be very gradual and therefore imposing usual demand for us. If our premiums exceed the total of our expensive initial loss, we register underwriting profit that adds to the investment income or float produces. When such a profit occurs, we enjoy the use of free money and better yet get paid for holding it. Unfortunately, the wish of volunteers to achieve this happy result creates intense competition so vigorous in most years that causes the PC industry as a whole to operate a significant underwriting loss. For example, State Farm, by far the country's largest insurance as well as managed company, besides, has incurred an underwriting loss in 8 of the last 11 years. There are a lot of ways to lose money in insurance, and the industry is resourceful in creating new ones. As noted in the first section of this report, we have now operated an underwriting profit for 9 consecutive years. Our gain for the period having totaled $17 billion. I believe it likely that we continue to underwrite profitably in most, though certainly not all future years. If we accomplish that, our float will be better than cost-free. We'll profit just as we would if some party deposited $70.6 billion with us, paid us a fee for holding its money, and then let us invest its funds for our own benefit. So how does attractive float affect intrinsic value calculations? Our float is deducted in full as a liability in calculating Berkshire's book value, just as we had to pay it out tomorrow and we're unable to replenish it, but that's an incorrect way to view float. What should instead be viewed as a revolving fund? If float is both cost and enduring, the true value of this liability is far lower than the accounting liability. Partially offsetting this overstated liabilities of $15.5 billion, $1 billion of goodwill attributable to our insurance companies that is included in book value of an asset. In effect, this goodwill represents the price we paid for a long flow generating capabilities for insurance operations. The cost of the goodwill, however, has no bearing on its true value. If an insurance business produces large, sustained underwriting losses, any goodwill assets attributable should be deemed valueless, whatever its original cost. Fortunately, that's not the case with Berkshire. Charlie and I believe the true economic value of our insurance goodwill, what we would pay to purchase float for similar quality, to be far in excess of its historic carrying value. The value of our float is one reason, a huge reason why we believe Berkshire's intrinsic business value substantially exceeds book value. Let me emphasize once again, the cost-free float is not an outcome to be expected for the PC industry as a whole. We don't think there is much Berkshire quality float existing in the insurance world. In most years, including 2011, the industry premium have been inadequate, cover claims plus expenses. Consequently, the industry's overall return on tangible equity has for many decades fallen short for the average return realized by the American industry. performance almost certain to continue. Berkshire's outstanding economics exists only because we have some terrific managers running some extraordinary insurance operations. Let me tell you about the major units. First, by float size, is the Berkshire Hathaway Insurance Group run by Ajit Jain. Ajit insures risk that no one else has the desire to capital to take on. His operation combines capacity, speed, decisiveness, and most importantly, brings a manager that is uniquely in the insurance business. Yet he never exposes Berkshire to risks that are inappropriate in relation to resources. Indeed, we're far more conservative in that respect than most large insurers. So for example, if the insurance industry should experience a $250 billion loss from some mega catastrophe, a loss about triple anything it has ever faced, Berkshire as a whole would likely record a moderate profit for the year because of its many streams of earnings. Concurrently, all other major insurance and reinsurers would be far in the red, and some would face insolvency. From a standing start in 1985, Ajit has created an insurance business with float of $340 billion and significant underwriting profits, a feat that no CEO of any other insurer has come close to matching. By these accomplishments, he has added a great many billion of dollars to the value of Berkshire. Charlie would gladly trade me for a second. Ajit, alas, there is none. We have another insurance powerhouse in General Ray, managed by Todd Montross. At bottom, a sound insurance operation needs to adhere to the four disciplines. It must, 1, understand all exposures that may cause a policy to incur losses. 2, conservatively evaluate the likelihood of any exposure actually causing a loss and a probable cost if it does. 3, set a premium that will deliver a profit in average after both respective loss costs and operating expenses are covered. And 4, be willing to walk away with the appropriate premium can be obtained. Many insurance pass the first 3 tests and flunk the 4th. They simply can't turn their back on business that their competitors are regularly writing. That only the other guy is doing it, so we must as well. It spells trouble in any business, but it's done more than insurance. Indeed, a good underwriter needs an independent mindset akin to that of a senior citizen who received a call from his wife while driving home. Albert, be careful. She warned, I just heard on the radio that there's a car going the wrong way down the interstate. Mabel, they don't know the half of it, replied Albert. It's not just one car, there are hundreds of them. Ted had observed all 4 of the insurance companies and shows in his results. General Ray's huge float has been better than cost-free under his leadership, and we expect that on average it will continue to be. In the first few years after we acquired it, General Ray was a major headache. Now it's a treasure. Finally, there is Geico, the insurer on which I can cut my teeth 61 years ago. Geico was joined by Tony Nicely, who joined the company in 2018 and completed 50 years of service in 2011. Geico's much envied record comes from Tony's brilliant execution of a superb and almost impossible to replicate business model. During Tony's 18-year tenure as CEO, our market share has grown from 2.0% to 9.3%. If it had instead remained static, as it had for more than a decade before he took over, our premium volume would now be $3.3 billion rather than $15.4 billion we attained in 2011. The extra value created by Tony and his associates as a major element in Berkshire's success of intrinsic value over value. There's still more than 90% of the auto insurance market left for Geico to shake in. Don't bet against Tony acquiring chunks of it year after year in the future. Our low cost permit low prices and every day more. More Americans discover that the Geico is doing them a favor, and he urges them to visit geico.com for a quote. Our lizard has another endearing quality. Unlike human spokesmen or spokeswomen who extensively represent other insurance companies, our little fellow has no agent. In addition to our 3 major insurance operations, we own a group of smaller companies, most of them plying their trade in odd corners of the insurance world. In aggregate, their results have consistently been profitable in the float they provided substantial. Charlie and treasured these companies and their managers. At year-end, we acquired Princeton Insurance, a New Jersey writer of medical malpractice policies. This bold transaction expands on the managerial domain of Tim Kenzie, the star CEO of Medical Protective, our Indiana-based med mal. Insured Princeton brings with it more than $600 million of float in the amount that is included in the following table. Here's the record of all 4 segments of our property, casualty, and life insurance business. Insurance operations, underwriting profits in millions, year-end float. BR Insurance, 2011, 2010, 2011, 2010. BR Insurance Suin, 714. General Ray, 144. Geico, 576. Under primary, 242. Total, $448. 2010, 176, 452, 1,117, 268, $2,013. 2011, $33,728, $19,714, $11,169, $5,960, $70,571. 2010, $30,370, $20,049, $10,272, $5,441, $65,832. Among large insurance operations, Berkshire impresses me as the best in the world. Regulated, capital-intensive business, we have 2 very large businesses, BNSF and Mid-American Energy, that have important common characteristics distinguishing them from our many other businesses. Consequently, we stand our own sector in this latter and also split our combined financial and the split their combined financials to our GWAP balance sheet and income statement. A key characteristic of both companies is the huge investment they have in very long-lived regulated asset. These partially funded by large amounts of long-term debt that is not guaranteed by Berkshire. Our credit is not needed. Both businesses have earning power that even under tolerable conditions apply coverage and interest requirements in less than robust economy during 2011. For example, BNSF interest coverage was 9.5x. At Mid-American, meanwhile, two key factors: interest liability service debt under all circumstances, the stability of earnings that is inherent in our exclusively offering an essential service, and the diversity of earning streams which shield it from the actions of any single regulatory body. Measured by ton miles, rail moves 42% of America's intercity freight, and BNSF moves more than any other railroad, about 37% of the industry total. A little math will tell you that about 15% of all the intercity ton miles of freight in the U.S. is transported by BNSF. It is no exaggeration to characterize railroad's circulatory system or economy. Your railroad is the largest artery. All this places a huge responsibility on us. We must, without fail, maintain and improve our 23,000 miles track, along with 13,000 bridges, 80 tunnels, 6,900 locomotives, and 78,600 freight cars. This job requires us to have ample financial resources in other economic scenarios and to have the human talent that can instantly and effectively deal with vicissitudes of nature, such as the widespread flooding BNSF labored under last summer. To fulfill its societal obligation, BNSF regularly invests far more than its depreciation charge, with excess amounting to $1.8 billion in 2011. The three other major U.S. railroads are making similar outlays. Though many people decry our country's inadequate infrastructure spending that credit can be levied against the railroad industry, it is pouring money, funds from the private sector, into the investment projects needed to provide better and more extensive service in the future. If railroads were not making these huge expenditures, a country publicly financed highway system would face even greater congestion and maintenance problems that exist today. Massive investment of other sort that BNSF is making would be foolish if it could not earn appropriate returns on the incremental sums it commits, but I am confident it will do so because of the value it delivers. Many years ago, Ben Franklin counselled, keep thy shop, and thy shop will keep thee. Translating this to our regulated business, he might today say, take care of your customer, and the regulator, your customer's representative, will take care of you. Good behavior by each party begets good behavior in return. At Mid-American, we participate in similar social compact. We expect to put up so ever-increasing sums to satisfy the future needs of our customers. If we meanwhile operate reliably and efficiently, we know we will obtain a fair return on these investments. Mid-American, 89.8% owned by Berkshire, supplies 2.5 million customers in the U.S., with electricity operating as the largest supplier in Iowa, Utah, and Wyoming, as an important provider in 6 other states as well. Our pipelines transport 8% of the country's natural gas. Obviously, many millions of Americans depend on us every day. They haven't been disappointed. When Mid-American purchased Northern Natural Gas Pipeline in 2002, that company's performance of the pipeline was rated dead last 43 out of 43, the leading authority in the field. In the most recent report, Northern Natural was ranked second. The top spot was held by our other pipeline, Kern River. Its electric business, Mid-American, has a comparable record in the most recent surveys of customer satisfaction. Mid-American U.S. Utilities ranked second among city utility groups surveyed. The story was far different not many years ago, back when Mid-American acquired these properties. Mid-American will have 1,316 megawatts of wind generation in operation by the end of 2012, far more than any other regulated electricity in the country. The total amount that we have invested or committed to win this staggering $6 billion. We can make this sort of investment because Mid-American retains all of its earnings, unlike other utilities that generally pay out most of what they earn. In addition, late last year, we took on 2 solar projects, one 100% owned in California and other 49% owned in Arizona. That will cost about $3 billion to construct. Many more wind and solar projects will almost certainly follow. As you can tell by now, I'm proud of what has been accomplished for our society by Metros at BNSF and by Greg Abel at Mid-American. I'm also both proud and grateful for what they have accomplished for Berkshire. Shareholders below the relevant figures. Mid-American, earnings in millions. UK Utilities, 2011-2010. UK Utilities, Iowa Utility, Western Utilities, Pipelines, Home Service, Other Net, operating earnings before corporate interest and taxes, interest other than the Berkshire, interest on Berkshire Junior debt, income tax, net earnings applicable to Berkshire, includes interest earned by Berkshire, net of related income taxes of $8 in 2011, $19 2010. 2011, $469, $279, $771, $388, $339, $36, $1,982, $323, $13, $315, $1,331, $1,204. 2010, $333, $279, $783, $378, $42, $47, $1,862, $323, $30, $271, $1,238, $1,131. BNSE historically accounting through 1210 purchase accounting subsequently in millions 2011-2010. Revenues $19,548, $16,850. Operating earnings 5,310, 4,495 interest, net 560, 507 pre-tax earnings 4,741, 3,988 net earnings 2,972, 2,459. And the book value recorded in our balance sheet, BNSF and Mid-American carry substantial goodwill components totaling $20 billion in each instance. However, Charlie and I believe current intrinsic value is far greater than their book value. Manufacturer, service, and reselling options. Our activities in this part of Berkshire cover the waterfront. Let's look at the summary balance sheet and earnings statement for the entire group. Balance sheet 12/31, 11 millions. Assets, cash and equivalents 4,241. Accounts notes receivable 6,584. Inventory 8,975. Other current assets 631. Total current assets 20,431. Goodwill and other intangibles 24,755. Fixed assets 17,866. Other assets 30,661. Total $66,713. Liabilities, equity, notes payable, other current liabilities, total current liabilities $1,611. 15,124. 16,735. Deferred taxes, term debt and other liabilities, not controlled interest, Berkshire equity 4,661. 6,214. 2,410. 36,693. $66,713 total. Earnings statement millions. Revenues, operating expenses including depreciation of 1,431 in 2011, 1,362 in 2010, and 1,422 in 2009. Interest expense, pre-tax earnings, income taxes, and non-controlling interest. Net earnings does not include purchase accounting adjustment. Includes earnings of Lubrizol from September 16, 2011, 2010, 2009, 72,406, 67,239, 130, 5,037, 1,998, 3,039, 66,610, 62,225, 111, 4,274, 1,812, 2,462, 61,665, 59,509, 98, 2,058, 945, 1,113. This group of companies sell product ranging from laptops and jet airplanes. Some of the business enjoy terrific economics measured by earnings on the unleveraged tangible assets that run from 25% after tax to more than 100%. Others produce good returns in the area of 12 to 20%. A few, however, very poor returns as a result of some serious mistakes I made in my job of capital allocation. These errors came about because I was just easier competitive strength of business being for the purchase or future economics of the industry in which I operated. I try to look out on to 10 or 20 years when making an acquisition, but sometimes my eyesight has been poor. Charlie has been better. He voted no more than present on several of my earned purchases. Berkshire's newer shareholder may be puzzled over our decisions to hold on to my mistakes. After all, their earnings can never be consequential to Berkshire's valuation, and problem companies require more winners all the time than winners. Any management consultant or Wall Street advisor will look at our laggards and say dump them. That won't happen. For 20 years. We have regularly the Berkshire Economic Principle Needs Reports. Pages 93 to 98 in number 11 describes our general reluctance to sell poor performers, which in most cases lag because of industry factors rather than managerial shortcomings. Our approach is far from Darwinian, and many of you may disapprove of it. I can understand your position. However, we have made and continue to make a commitment to seller of businesses. We buy that we will retain those businesses through thick and thin. So far, the dollar cost of the commitment has not been substantial and may well be offset by the goodwill built amongst prospective sellers looking for the right permanent home for their treasured businesses. And loyal associate, these owners know that what they get with us can't be delivered by others, and their commitment must be good for many decades to come. Please understand, however, that Charlie and I are neither masochists nor Pollyannas. If either of the failings we set forth in Rule 11 is present, if the business will likely be cash drained over the long term, if labor strife is endemic, we will take prompt decisive action. Such a situation has happened only a couple of times in our 47-year history. None of the business we now own is straight and straits, requiring us to consider disposing of it. The steady and substantial comeback in the U.S. economy since 2009 is clear from the earnings shown at the front of the section. This compilation includes 54 of our companies, but one of these, Marmon itself, the owner of 140 operations in 11 distinct business sectors. In short, when you look at Berkshire, you are looking across corporate America. So let's dig a little deeper to gain a greater insight into what has happened in the last few years. The four housing-related companies in which the section group that excludes Clayton, which is carried under finance and financial products, had aggregate pre-tax earnings $227 million in 2009, $260 million in 2010, $359 million in 2011. If you subtract these earnings from those in the combined statement, you will see that our multiple and diverse non-housing operations earned $1,831 million in 2009, $3,912 million in 2010, and $4,670 million in 2011. About $291 million of the 2011 earnings came from the Lubrizol acquisition. The profile of the remaining 2011 earnings, $4,387 million, illustrate the comeback of much of the America from devastation brought by the 2008 financial panic. Though housing-related business remained in the emergency room, most of other business have left the hospital with their health fully restored. Almost all of our managers delivered outstanding performance last year. Among those managers who were in housing-related business and were therefore fighting hurricane headwinds, here are a few examples. Vic Mancinelli again set a record at CTB, our agricultural equipment operation. We purchased CTB in 2002 for $139 million. It has subsequently distributed $180 million to Berkshire last year, earned $124 million pre-tax, and has $109 million in cash. Vic has made a number of bolt acquisitions over the years, including a meaningful one he signed up after year-end. TTR Electric Components Distributor increased its sales to a record $2.1 billion, up 12.4% from 2010. Earnings also hit record up 127% from 2007, the year at which we purchased the business. 2011, TTR performed far better than large publicly traded companies in its field. That's no surprise. Paul Andrews and Associates have been besting them for years. Charlie and I are delighted that Paul negotiated a large bolt acquisition early in 2012. We hope more to follow. Escar, 80% owned cutting tools operation, continues to amaze us. Its sales growth and overall performance are unique in industry. Escar's managers Eitan Wertheimer, Jacob Arpaz, and Danny Goldman are brilliant strategists and operators. When the economic world was created in November 2008, they stepped up to buy Tongaloy, leading Japanese cutting tool manufacturer. Tongaloy suffered significant damage when the tsunami hit north of Tokyo last spring, but you wouldn't know that. No, Tongaloy went on to set sales record in 2011. I visited the Iwaki plant in November and was inspired by the dedication and enthusiasm of Tongaloy's management as well as its staff. They're a wonderful group and deserve your admiration and thanks. McLean, our huge distribution company that is run by Grady Rosier, added important new customers in 2011 and set pre-tax earnings a record of $370 million since its purchase in 2003 for $1.5 billion. The company has had pre-tax earnings of $2.4 billion and also increased its LIFO reserve by $230 million because the prices of the retail products it distributes, candy, gum, cigarettes, etc. have risen. Grady runs a logistical machine second to none. If you can look for Boltons and McLean particularly near you, going to sprint distribution business. Jordan Hansel took over the NetJets and delivered 2011 pre-tax earnings $227 million. It is particularly impressive performance because the sale of new planes was slow during the most of the year, and however, how there was an uptick that was more seasonally normal. How permanent it will be is uncertain. A few years ago, NetJets was my number one worry. Its costs were far outline of the revenues and cash was hemorrhaging. Without Berkshire support, NetJets would have gone broke. These problems are hidden behind us, and Jordan is now delivering steady profits. From all controlled and smoothly running operation, NetJets is proceeding on a plan to enter China with some first-class partners, which will widen our business moat. No other fractional ownership operators has remotely the size and breadth of the NetJets operation and not everable. NetJets are only focus on safety and service has played off in the marketplace. It should go to watch Marmon's progress under Frank Tuck's leadership. In addition to achieving internal growth, Frank regularly makes bolt-on acquisitions that in aggregate will materially increase Marmon's earning power. He did three costing about $270 million in the last few months. Joint ventures around the world and are other opportunity for Marmon. At mid-year, Marmon partnered with the Condali family and India, carrying operation that is already delivering substantial profit. This is Marmon's second venture with the family following a successful wired cable partnership instituted a few years ago. Of the 11 major sectors in which Marmon operates, 10 delivered gains in earnings last year. You can be confident of higher earnings from Marmon in the years ahead. By commodity, sell brands has long been a formula for business success. It has produced enormous sustained profits for Coca-Cola since 1886 and Wrigley since 1891. On smaller scale, we have enjoyed good fortune with this approach as See's Candy since we purchased it 40 years ago. Last year, See's had a record pre-tax earnings of $83 million, bringing its total since we bought it to $1.65 billion. Contrast that figure with their purchase price of $25 million in our year-end carrying value net of cash of less than zero. Yes, you read that right. Capital employed at See's fluctuates seasonally, heading a low after Christmas credit brand Kinsler for taking the company to new heights. He became CEO in 2006. The progressive Berkshire Mart, 80% owned, set an earnings record in 2011, netting more than 10 times what it did in 1983 when we acquired our stake. But that's not the big news. More important was NFM's acquisition of a 433-acre tract north of Dallas in which we built was what is volume certain to be the highest volume home furnishing stores in the country. Currently, the title is shared by our two stores in Omaha and Kansas City, each of which had record-setting sales of more than $400 million in 2011. It will be several years before the Texas store is completed, but I look forward to cutting the ribbon at the opening. At Berkshire, the managers do the work, I take the bows. Our new stores, which will offer an equal variety of merchandise at a price that can be matched, will bring huge crowds from near and far. The drawing power and our extensive holdings of land on the site should enable us to attract a number of other major stores. If any high-volume retailers are reading this, contact me. Our experience with NFM is the Blumkin family that runs a business of real joy. The business was built by Rose Blumkin, known to all as Miss B, who started the company in 1937 with $500 in a dream. She sold me our interest when she was 89 and worked until she was 103. After retiring, she died next year, a sequence I point out to any other Berkshire manager who even think of retiring. Miss B's son, Louis, was now 92, helped his mother build the business after he returned from World War II, along with his wife, Rain, has been my friend for 53 years. In turn, Louis' sons, Ron and Irv, have taken the company to new heights, first opening the Kansas City store and now gearing up for Texas. The boys and I have had many great times together, and I count them among my best friends. The Bloomfield and remarkable family and every clientele at an extraordinary gene pool go to waste. I'm rejoicing these days because several members of the fourth Blumkin generation have joined NFM. Overall, The intrinsic value of the business in the Berkshire sector significantly exceeds their book value for many of the smaller companies. However, this is not true. I've made more than my share of my mistakes buying small companies. Charlie long ago told me, if something not worth doing at all, it's not doing well, and I should have listened harder. In any event, our large purchases will have generally worked well, extraordinarily well in a few cases, and overall the sector is a winner for us. Certain shareholders have told me that they hunger for more discussions and accounting. Our connoisseur is a bit of GWP mandated nonsense. I hope both of them enjoy. Common sense would tell you that our varied subsidiaries should be carried on our books at their cost plus earnings. They have retained since our purchase unless their economic value is particularly decreased, in which case an appropriate write-down must be taken. And that's essentially the rally Berkshire, except for the weird situation of Marmon. We purchased 64% of the company in 2008 and put this interest in our books at our cost, $4.8 billion. So far, so good. And in early 2011, pursuant to our original contract with the Pritzker family, we purchased an additional 16%, paying $1.5 billion called for by formally to reflect the Marmon's increased value. In this instance, however, we were required to immediately write off $614 million of purchase price retroactive at the end of 2010. Don't ask. Obviously, this write-off had no connection to the economic reality. The excess of Marmon's intrinsic value over its carrying value is widened by this meaningless write-down. Finance and financial products. This sector, our smallest, includes 2 rental companies, Extra Trailers, and Court Furniture and Clayton Homes, the country's leading producer and financer of manufactured homes. Aside from these 100% owned subsidiaries, we also include in this category a collection of financial assets and our 50% interest in Bricadia Commercial Mortgage. If we instruct to look at what transpired at our 3 operating business after the economy fell off a cliff in late 2008 because of their experience, eliminate the fractured recovery that later came along. Results that our 2 leasing companies mirrored that non-housing economy. Their combined pre-tax earnings were $13 million in 2009, $53 million in 2010, and $155 million in 2011, an improvement reflecting the steady recovery we have seen in almost all of our non-housing business. In contrast, Clayton's world of manufactured housing, just like site-building housing, has endured a relative depression, experiencing no recovery to date. Manufactured housing sales in the nation were 49,789 homes in 2009, 50,046 in 2010, and 51,606 in 2011. When housing was booming in 2005, they were 146,744. Despite these difficult times, Clayton has continued to operate profitably, largely because its mortgage portfolios performed well under trying circumstances. Because we're the largest lender in the manufactured home sector and are also normally lending to lower and middle income families, you might expect us to suffer heavy losses during a housing meltdown, but by sticking to old-fashioned loan policies, meaningful down payments and monthly payments with a sensible relationship to regular income, Clayton has kept losses to acceptable levels. It has done so even though many of our borrowers have had negative equity for some time. As is well known, the U.S. went off the rails in its home ownership and mortgage lending policies, and for these mistakes, our economy is now paying a huge price. All of us participate in destructive behavior. Government lenders, borrowers, the media rating agencies, you name it. At the core of the folly was the almost universal belief that the value of a house was certain to increase over time and that any dips would be inconsequential. The acceptance of this premise justified almost any price in practice in housing transactions. Homeowners everywhere felt pressure and rushed to monetize and increase the value of their homes by refinancing. These massive cash infusions fueled the consumption binge throughout our economy. It all seemed great fun while it lasted, are largely a noted fact. Large numbers of people who have lost their house throughout foreclosure have actually realized a profit because they carried out refinancing earlier that gave them cash in excess of their cost. In these cases, the effective homeowner was the winner and the victim was the lender. In 2007, the bubble burst just as all bubbles must. We are now in the fourth of a year cure that, though long and painful, is sure to succeed. Today, household formations are consistently exceeding housing starts. Clayton earnings should improve materially when the nation's excess housing inventory is worked off. As I see things today, however, I believe the intrinsic value of these business in these sectors does not differ materially from their book value. Investments. Below we show our common stock investment that are year-end had a market value of more than $1 billion. Shares. 151,610,700, 200 million, 29,100,937, 63,105,931, 31,416,127, 79,034,713, 20,060,190, 3,947,555, 72,391,036, 25,848,838, 291,577,428, 78,060, 7,060,769, 39,037,142, 400,015,828. Company: American Express Company, the Coca-Cola Company, ConocoPhillips, International Business Machines Corp., Johnson & Johnson, Kraft Foods Inc., Munich Re, POSCO, the Procter & Gamble Company, Sanofi, Tesco PLC, U.S. Bancorp, Walmart Stores Incorporated, Wells Fargo & Company, others. Total common stocks carried to market. Percentage company owned: 13.0, 8.8, 2.3, 5.5, 1.2, 4.5, 11.3, 5.1, 2.6, 1.9, 3.6, 4.1, 1.1, 7.6, 12.31, 14. Cost in millions: 1,287, 1,299, 2,027, 10,856, 1,880, 2,589, 2,990, 768, 464, 2,055, 1,719, 2,401, 1,893, 9,086, 6,895, $48,209. Market: 7,151, 13,994, 2,101, 11,751, 2,060, 2,953, 2,464, 1,131, 4,829, 1,900, 1,827, 2,112, 2,333, 11,024, 9,171, 76,991. There's actual purchase price and also our tax-based GLP cost differs in a few cases because our write-ups or write-downs have been required. We made few changes in our investment holdings during 2011, but three moves were important. Our purchase of IBM and Bank of America and the $1 billion addition we made to our Wells Fargo position. The banking industry is back on its feet and Wells Fargo is profiting. Its earnings are strong. Its assets solid, its capital at record levels. At Bank of America, some huge mistakes were made by prior management. Brian Moynihan has made excellent progress in cleaning these up. The completion of that process will take a number of years. Currently is nurturing a huge and shadow underlying business that will endure long after today's problems are forgotten. Our warrants to buy $700 million. Bank of America shares will likely be relevant for the expire. As was the case with Coca-Cola in 1988 and Railroads in 2006, I was late to the IBM party. Have been reading the company's annual reports for more than 50 years, but it wasn't until a Saturday in March last year that my thinking crystallized. As Thoreau said, it's not what you look at that matters, it's what you see. Todd Combs built a $1.75 billion portfolio at cost last year, and Tel Wursler will soon create one of similar size. Each of them receives 8% of his performance compensation from his own results and 20% from his hard earned when our quarterly fillings report relatively small holdings. These are not likely to be buys I made, though the media often overlooked at that point, but rather holdings denoting purchase by Todd or Ted. One additional point about these two new arrivals, both Ted and Todd, will be helpful to the next CEO of Berkshire in making acquisitions. They have excellent business minds that grasp the economic forces likely to determine the future of a wide variety of businesses. They're aided in their thinking by understanding of what is predictable and what is unknowable. There's little new to report in our derivatives positions, which we have described in detail in past reports. Our reports since 1977 are available to www.berkshirehathaway.com. One important industry change, however, must be noted, though our existing contracts have very minor collateral requirements. Rules have changed for new positions, consequently, will not be initiating any major derivative positions, mutual contracts of any type that could require the instant posting of collateral, the possibility of some sudden and huge posting requirement arising from an out-of-the-blue event such as the worldwide financial panic or massive terrorist attack, is inconsistent with our primary objectives of redundant liquidity and unquestioned financial strength. Our insurance-like derivatives contracts, whereby we pay if various issues including high-yield bonds, indices, default are coming to a close. The contracts that most exposed us to losses have already expired and the remainder will terminate soon. In 2011, we paid out $86 million in two losses, bringing our total payments to $2.6 billion. We are almost certain to realize a final underwriting profit on this portfolio because of premiums we received were $3.4 billion, and our future losses are apt to be minor. In addition, we will have averaged about $2 billion afloat over the 5-year life of these contracts. The successful result during a lifetime of great credit stress underscores the importance of taming a premium that is commensurate with risk. Charlie and I continue to believe that our equity puts position will produce a significant profit, considering both $4.2 billion afloat we will have held for more than 15 years and the $222 million profit we've already realized in contracts that we purchased. At year-end, Berkshire's book value reflected a value of $8.5 billion for the remaining contracts. If they had all come due at the time or payment, would have been $6.2 billion. The basic choice of investors and one we strongly prefer. Investing is often described as a process of laying out money now in the expectation of receiving more money in the future. At Berkshire, we take a more demanding approach, defining investing as a transfer to others of purchasing power, now with the reason expectation of receiving more purchasing power after taxes have been paid and nominal gains in the future. More succinctly, investing is foregoing consumption now in order to have the ability to consume more in a later date. For the definition, there flows an important corollary. The risk of investment is not measured by data. A Wall Street encompassing volatility and often used measuring risks, but rather about probability the reason, the probability of that investment causing its owner a loss of purchasing power over its contemplated holding period. Assets can fluctuate greatly in price and not be risky as long as they recently started to deliver increased purchase power over their holding period. And as we will see, a non-fluctuating asset can be laden with risk. Investment possibilities are both many varied. There are three major categories, however, in supporting understanding the characteristics of each. So let's survey the field. Investment denominated in driven currency include money market funds, bonds, mortgages, bank deposits, and other instruments. Most of these currency-based investments are thought of as safe. In truth, they are among the most dangerous of huge. They're beta, baby zero, but the risk is huge. Over the past century, these instruments have destroyed the purchasing power of investors in many countries. Even as the holder continue to receive timely payments of interest. In principle, this ugly result, moreover, will forever occur. Governments determine the ultimate value of money. Systemic forces will sometimes cause them to gravitate to policies that produce inflation. From time to time, such policies spin out of control. Even in the U.S., where the wish for a stable currency is strong, the dollar has fallen staggering 86% in value since 1965 when it took over management of Berkshire. It takes no less than $7 today to buy what $1 did at that time. Consequently, a tax-free institution would have needed 4.8% interest annually from bond investment over that period to simply maintain its purchasing power. Its managers would have been kidding themselves if they thought any portion of that interest is income. For tax-paying investors like you and me, the picture has been far worse. During the same 47-year period, continuous rolling of U.S. Treasury bills produced 5.7% annually. That sounds satisfactory, but if individual investors paid personal income tax rate averaging 25%, this 5.7 return would have yielded nothing in the way of real income. This investor's income tax would have stripped him of 1.4 points of the stated yield, and the individual inflation tax would have deferred the remaining 4.3 points. Is noteworthy that implicit inflation tax was more than triple explicit income tax. The investor probably thought of his main burden, in God we trust, maybe imprinted in our currency, but the hand activities our government has been all too human. High interest rates, of course, can compensate purchasers for the inflation risk they face with currency-based investment, and indeed rates in the early 1980s did that job nicely. Current rates, however, do not come close to offsetting the purchasing power. Risk investors assume right now bonds should come with a warning label. Under today's conditions, therefore, I do not like currency-based investment. Even so, Berkshire holds significant amounts of them, primarily of short-term variety. At Berkshire, the need for ample liquidity occupies center stage will never be slighted. However, inadequate rates may be. Accommodating this need will probably hold the U.S. Treasury bills, the only investment that can be counted on for living under the most chaotic of economic conditions. Our working level for at least $20 billion, $10 billion to the absolute minimum. Beyond requirements that liquidating regulators impose on us, will purchase currency-related securities only if they are offered the possibility of unusual gain, either because a particular credit sprite as can occur in periodic junk bonds, debicles, or because rates rise to a level that offers the possibility of realizing substantial capital gains on high-grade bonds where the rates fall. Though we exploited both opportunities in the past and may do so again, we are now 880 degrees removed from such prospects. Today, a wry comment that Wall Street shall be column Davis made long ago seems apt. Bonds proponent is offering risk-free returns are now priced to deliver return-free risks. The second major category of investments involve assets that will never produce anything but are purchased in the buyer's hope that someone else, who also knows that asset will be forever unproductive, will pay for them in the future. Two hopes of all things briefly become favorite of fish buyers in the 17th century. This type of investment requires an expanding pool of buyers who in turn are enticed because they believe the buying pool will expand still further. Owners are not inspired by what the asset itself can produce. It will remain lifeless forever, but rather by belief that others will desire it even more rapidly in the future. The major asset in this category is gold, currently a huge favorite of investors who fear almost other assets, especially paper money, of whose value has noted they are right to be fearful. Gold, however, has two significant shortcomings, being neither of much use nor creative. True gold has some industrial and decorative utility, but the demand for these products is both limited and capable of the soaking up production. Meanwhile, if you own 1 ounce of gold for an eternity, you will still own 1 ounce at its end. What motivates most gold purchasers? Their belief that the ranks of fearful will grow. During the past decade, that belief has proved correct. Beyond the rising prices on its own generated additional buying enthusiasm, attracting purchasers who sees the rise of validating investment thesis as bandwagon investors at any party. They create their own truth. For a while, over the past 15 years, both internet stocks and houses have demonstrated the extraordinary successes that can be created by combining initially sensible thesis well publicized rising price in these bubbles. Any army of original skeptical investors have succumbed to the proof delivered by the market, and the pool of buyers for a time expanded sufficiently to keep the bandwagon rolling. But bubbles blow large enough in a blue pop, and in the old proverbs is confirmed once again: what the wise man does not beginning, the fool does in the end. Today, the world's gold stock is about 170,000 metric tons. If all of this gold were melded together, it would form a cube of around about 68 feet per side, picture fitting comfortably within a baseball infield with 1,750 per ounce. Gold's prices are at this. Its value would be $9.6 trillion, called this cube pile A. Let's now create cube pile B consisting in equal amount. For that, we could buy all these cropland for $100 billion acres with output of about $200 billion annually, plus 16 Exxon Mobils, the world's most profitable company when earning more than $40 billion annually. After this person, he would have built about $1 trillion left over walking around money. No sense feeling strapped after this buying binge. Can you imagine an investor with $9.6 trillion selected in pile over pile B? Beyond the second valuation given the existing stock of gold, current prices make today's annual production of gold command about 160 billion buyers. Whether jewelry industry and users find individuals or speculators must continually absorb this additionally supply to merely maintain an equivalent of present prices. And such year from now, 400 million acres of farmland will have reduced aggregate amounts of corn, wheat, cotton, and other crops, and will continue to produce at a valuable bounty. Whatever the currency may be, ExxonMobil will probably have delivered trillions of dollars in dividends to its owners and will also hold assets worth many more trillions. In remember, you get 16 exits. The 170,000 tons of gold will be unchanged in size and still incapable of producing anything. You can follow the cube, but it will not respond. I believe when people a century from now are fearful, it's likely an initial rush to gold. I'm confident, however, that the $9.6 trillion current valuation of Pile will compound over the century at a rate 8 far inferior to that achieved by Pile B. Our first categories enjoy maximum popularity picks. Fear, terror over economic collapse drives individuals to currency-based assets, most particularly U.S. obligations, and fear of currency collapse fosters movement to sterile assets such as gold. We heard cash is king in late 2008. This when cash should have been deployed rather than held. Similarly, we heard cash is trash in the early 1980s, just when fixed dollar investments were at the most attractive level in memory. On those occasions, investors who recorded the supportive crowd paid dearly for that comfort. My own preference, and you know this, was coming from some short category investment in productive assets, whether business, farms, or real estate. I believe these assets should have the ability in inflationary times to deliver output that will retain its purchasing power value while requiring many of new capital investment. Farms, real estate, and many businesses such as Coca-Cola, IBM, and our own See's Candy meet that double-barrel test. Certain other companies, think of regulated utilities, for example, fail it because inflation places heavy capital requirement on them. To earn more, their owners must invest more. Even so, these investments will remain superior to non-productive or currency-based assets. Whether the currency a century from now is based on gold, seashells, and shark teeth, or a piece of paper, as of today, people will be willing to exchange a couple of minutes of their daily labor for a Coca-Cola or some See's peanut brittle, and some future of U.S. population will move more goods, consume more food, and require more living space than it does now. People will forever exchange what they produce for what others produce. Our country's business will continue to efficiently deliver goods and services wanted by our citizens. Metaphorically, these commercial cows will live for centuries and give ever greater quantities of milk to boot. Their value will be determined not by the medium of exchange, but rather by the capacity to deliver milk. Proceeds from the sale of the milk will compound for the owners of the cows, just as they did during the 20th century. With the Dow increase from 66 to 11,497 and paid loads of dividends as well, Berkshire goals will be to increase its ownership of first-class businesses. Our first choice will be to own them in their entirely, but we will also be owners by the way of holding sizable amounts of marketable stocks. I believe that over an extended period of time, this category of investing will prove to be the runaway winner. Among the three we've examined, more important will be far the safest. The annual meeting. The annual meeting will be held on Saturday, May 5th at Century Link Center in the name from Key West. Last year, Carrie Kaiser debuted as the ringmaster in her lifetime assignment. Everyone loved this job. She did, especially me. Soon after 7 a.m., opening the doors, we will have a new activity, the newspaper tossing challenge. Late last year, Berkshire purchased the Omaha World Herald, and in my meeting with its shareholder employees, I told them the folding showing skills I developed while delivering 500,000 papers as a teenager. I immediately saw skepticism in the eyes of the audience. That was no surprise to me. After all, the reporter's mantra is, if your mother said she loves you, check it out. So now I have to back up my claim at the meeting. I will take on all comers in making 35-foot toss of the World Herald to Clayton Porch. Any challenger whose paper lanes closer to the doorstep than mine will receive a deli bar. I've asked Dairy Queen to supply several for the contest, so and any will be needed. We will have a large stock of papers. Grab one, fold it, no rubber bands. Take your best shot. Make my day. At 8:30, a new Berkshire movie will be shown. An hour later, we will question. Will be shown an hour later. We start the question and answer period, which with the break of lunch at the Central Link stands will last until 3:30. After short recess, Charlie and I will convene annual meeting 3:45. If you decide to leave during today's question periods, please do so while Charlie's talking. The best reason to exit, of course, is to shop. We will help you do so by filling 194,300 square-foot hall. It joins the meeting areas with some products from dozens of Berkshire subsidiaries. Last year, if you do your part, in most locations racked up record sales in a 9-hour period. We sold 1,249 pairs of Justin boots, 11,250 pounds of cheese candy, 8,000 quick at nights. That's 59 Supreme and 6,126 pairs of Wilts Lamont gloves, a Marmon product whose very existence was new to me. The product I focus on is money, but you can do better. Remember, anyone who says money can buy happiness simply hasn't shopped at our meeting. Among the new exhibitors this year will be Brooks, our running shoe company. Brooks has been gobbling up market share. In 2011, had a sales gain of 34%. Its 10th consecutive year of record volume dropped by. Congratulate Jim Weber, the company CEO, and be sure to buy a couple of pairs limited edition Berkshire Hathaway running shoes. Geico will have a booth staffed by a number of its top counselors from around the country, all of them ready to supply you with auto insurance quotes. In most cases, Geico will be able to give you shareholders discount, usually 8%. This special offer is permitted by 44 of the 51 jurisdictions in which we operate. One supplemental point, the discount is not added if you qualify for another such to give in certain groups. Bring the deal of your existing insurance and check out whether we can save you money. For at least half of you, I believe we can. Be sure to visit the Bookworm. It will carry more than 35 books and DVDs, including a couple of new ones. I recommend MeTech, an informative history of one of our very successful subsidiaries. You'll learn how my interest in the company company was really equipped by receiving in the mail a hunk of ugly metal whose purpose I couldn't fathom. Since we bought Mythic in 2001, it has made 33 tuck-in acquisitions almost successful. I think you also like a short book that Peter Bevelin has put together explaining Berkshire's investment operating principles. It sums up what Charlie and I have been saying over the years in annual reports and at annual meetings. Should you need to ship your book, Purchases, a shipping service will be available nearby. If you're a big spender or aspire to become one, visit Elliott Aviation on the east side of the Irmo Airport between noon and 5 p.m. on Saturday, and there will have a fleet of NetJets aircraft that will get your pulse racing. Come by the bus, leave by private jet, all will carry credit. An attachment to the proxy material that is enclosed with this report explains how you can explain their credential you will need for admission to the meeting and other events. Airlines have sometimes jacked prices for the Berkshire weekend. If you're coming from far away, compare the cost of flying to Kansas City versus Omaha. The drive between the two cities is about 2.5 hours, and maybe that you can save significant money, particularly if you had planned to rent a car in Omaha. Spend those savings with us. At Nebraska Furniture Mart, located on a 77-acre site in 72nd Street between Dodge and Pacific, will again be having Berkshire weekend discount pricing. Last year, the store did $132.7 million of business during its annual meeting sell a volume that exceeds the yearly sales of most furniture stores. To obtain the Berkshire discount, you must make your purchases between Tuesday, May 1st and Monday, May 7th inclusive, and also present your meeting credential. The period special pricing will even apply to the products of several prestigious manufacturers that normally have ironclad rules against discounting, but which in the spirit of our shareholder weekend have made an exception for you. We appreciate their cooperation. NFM is open from 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. Monday through Saturday and 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Sunday. On Saturday this year from 5:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. NFM is having a picnic to which you're all invited. At Board Times, we'll again have two shareholder-only events. The first will be a cocktail reception from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. On Friday, May 4th, the second main gala will be held on Saturday from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. On Saturdays, we will be open until 6 p.m. On Sunday, around 2 p.m., I will be clerking at Board. I'm desperate to beat my sales figures from last year, so come to take advantage of me. Ask me for my crazy warrant price. We will have huge crowds at Board Times throughout the weekend for your convenience. Therefore, shareholders' prices will be available from Monday, April 30th through Saturday, May 12th. During that period, please identify yourself as a shareholder presenting your meeting credentials or a brokerage statement that shows you're a Berkshire holder. On Sunday, in the mall outside of Berkshire, blindfolded Patrick Wolf, twice U.S. champion, will take on all comers who will have their eyes wide open in groups of 6. Nearby, Norman Beck, a remarkable magician from Dallas, while bewilder onlookers. Additionally, we will have Bob Hammond and Sharon Osberg, two of the world's top bridge experts. We will play bridge with our shareholders on Sunday afternoon. Two non-experts, Charlie and I, will also be at the table. Gourds and Piccolos will again be open exclusive for Berkshire shareholders. On Sunday, May 6th, both will be serving until 10 p.m. with Gourds opening at 1 p.m. and Piccolos opening at 4 p.m. These restaurants are my favorites, and I will eat both of them on Sunday evening. Actuarial tables tell me that I can consume another 12 million calories before my death. I'm terrified at the thought of leaving any of these behind, so we'll be front-loading on Sunday. Remember, to make a reservation of Goritz, call 402-551-3733 on April 1st, but not before. And at Piccolo's, call 402-342-9038. At Piccolo, show some class and order your giant root beer float for dessert. Only sissies get the small one. We will again have the same three financial journalists lead the question and answer period of the meeting, asking Charlie and me the question that shareholders have submitted them by email. The journalists and their email address are Carl Loomis of Fortune, who may be emailed to Loomis at fortunemail.com, Becky Quick of CNBC at BerkshireQuestions at TNBC.com, and Andrew Ostorican of the New York Times at asorican@NYTimes.com. For the questions submitted, each journalist will choose the dozen she or she decides the most interesting and important. The journalists have told me your question has the best chance of being selected. If you keep on concise, avoid sending the last moment and make it Berkshire related. Include no more than 2 questions in any email you send them. In your email, let the journalists know if you would like your name to be mentioned is selected. This year, we are adding a second panel of these financial analysts who follow Berkshire. They are Clint Gellert of the KBW, Jay Gelb of Barclays Capital, and Gary Ransom of Dowling Partners. These analysts will bring their own Berkshire-specific question and alternate with the journalists and audience. Charlie and I believe that all shareholders should have access to the new Berkshire information. Simultaneously, should also have adequate time to analyze it, which is why we try to issue financial information after the market close. On a Friday, we will not talk one-on-one to large institutional investor and analysts. Our new panel will let analysts ask questions, perhaps even a few technical ones, in a manner that may be helpful to many shareholders. Neither Charlie nor I will get so much as a clue about the questions to be asked. We know the journalists and analysts will come up with some tough ones, and that's the way we like it. All told, we expect at least 54 questions, which will allow for 6 from each analyst, journalist, and 18 from the audience. If there's that much time, we'll take more from the audience. Audience question will be determined by drawings that will take place at 8:15 a.m. at 13 microphones located in the arena and overflow. room. For good reason, early extol accomplished for operating managers. They are truly all-stars who run their business if they were only assets owned by their families. I believe their mindset to be shareholder-oriented as can be found in the universe of large publicly owned companies. Most have no financial need to work. The joy of hitting business home runs means as much to them as their paycheck. Equally important, however, the 23 men and women who work with me at our corporate office, all on one floor, which is the way we intend to keep it. This group efficiently deals with a multitude of SEC and other regulatory requirements and files a 17,839-page federal income tax return. Hello, Guinness. As well as in foreign returns. Additionally, they respond to the countless shareholder and media inquiries, get out the annual report, prepare for the country's largest annual meeting, coordinate the board's activities, and let goes on. They handle all of these business tasks cheerfully and with unbelievable efficiency, making my life easy and pleasant. Their efforts go beyond activities strictly related to Berkshire. They'll deal with 40 universities, select from 200 applicants who will send students to Omaha this school year for a day with me and also handle all kind of grants to receive and arrange my travel and even get me hamburgers for lunch. No CEO has it is better. This home office crew, along with their operating managers, have my deepest thanks and deserves yours as well. Come to Omaha and your cradle for capitalism May 5th and tell them so. February 25, 2012, Warren E. Buffett, Chairman of the Board.